Your problems are not here to break you. They're here to train the person you are meant to become.
Hi, this is Dr. Julian Vance. I hope this will teach you something today. Dr. Julian Vance has been with you all the way. And always remember, keep learning, keep pushing forward. Who stops reading, stops growing.
Introduction.
Life has a way of testing us when we least expect it. Problems appear without warning. A sudden setback, a broken plan, a moment of uncertainty that leaves us wondering what to do next. Some people let these challenges control them, while others rise above and use them as fuel for growth. The difference isn't luck, it's skill. This book is your guide to mastering that skill. Inside, you'll discover how to reshape your mindset, uncover hidden solutions, and turn every challenge into an opportunity for strength. Whether your problems are personal, financial, or emotional, the principles you'll learn here will help you face them with clarity, confidence, and control. This isn't about avoiding life storms, it's about learning to navigate them like a seasoned captain. Chapter 1: The Mindset Shift. The problem is not the problem. The problem is your attitude about the problem. The prison of your own making. Right now, as you read these words, you're carrying invisible chains. They're not made of metal or rope. They're made of thoughts, beliefs, and patterns so deeply embedded in your mind that you mistake them for reality itself. These chains don't rattle when you move, don't leave marks on your skin, but they control your life more than any physical restraint ever could. Every morning, millions of people wake up feeling defeated by problems that haven't even happened yet. They check their phones and immediately feel overwhelmed by a world that seems designed to crush their dreams. Sound familiar? Here's what nobody tells you. That feeling of being overwhelmed isn't caused by your problems. It's caused by how you're thinking about your problems. The great illusion. Let me share something that will fundamentally change how you see every challenge in your life. Problems don't exist in the physical world. They exist in your mind. A car breaking down is just metal parts moving in ways they weren't designed to. A relationship ending is just two people deciding to spend their time differently. A business failing is just numbers on a balance sheet shifting positions. The problem is the story you tell yourself about what these events mean. And here's the revolutionary part: you get to choose that story. Think about the last time something went wrong in your life. Now imagine explaining that exact same situation to a 5-year-old. Notice how different it sounds. That's because children haven't yet learned to transform simple events into complex emotional dramas. They see what is, not what they think it means. The emotional hijack. Your brain is wired to keep you alive, not to keep you happy. Every challenge triggers an ancient alarm system designed for a world where saber-toothed tigers were the biggest threat. But in today's world, your primitive brain treats a harsh email from your boss the same way it would treat a charging predator. This is why you feel your heart race when you see a challenging phone number on your caller ID. This is why your stomach drops when your computer crashes right before a deadline. Your survival system is firing on all cylinders for situations that require creativity, not combat. The first step to solving any problem is recognizing when you're being hijacked by your emotions. Ask yourself, am I responding to what's actually happening, or to what I'm afraid might happen? Most of the time, you'll discover you're fighting shadows. The strategic response revolution. Here's where everything changes. Instead of reacting from a place of emotion, you're going to learn to respond from a place of strategy. The difference between these two approaches is the difference between being a victim of your circumstances and being the architect of your solutions. When you react emotionally, you make decisions based on how you feel in the moment. These decisions are usually designed to make the emotional pain stop as quickly as possible, not to create the best long-term outcome. It's like taking painkillers for a broken bone. You might feel better temporarily, but you haven't actually solved the underlying problem. Strategic response means stepping back, taking a breath, and asking better questions. Instead of "why is this happening to me?" ask, "what is this situation trying to teach me?" Instead of "how do I make this pain stop?" ask, "how do I use this experience to become stronger?" The opportunity hidden in every obstacle. Every single problem you face contains the seeds of an even greater opportunity. This isn't positive thinking nonsense. This is a fundamental law of how growth works. Muscles only get stronger when they encounter resistance. Rivers only carve grand canyons when they meet immovable rocks. You only discover what you're truly capable of when life demands more from you than you think you can give. Consider this: every successful person you admire has faced problems you can't even imagine. The difference isn't that they had fewer obstacles, it's that they developed the skill of seeing obstacles as stepping stones rather than roadblocks. They learned to ask, "How can I use this?" instead of "Why me?" When your business faces a cash flow crisis, it forces you to become more resourceful and efficient. When a relationship ends, it creates space for you to rediscover who you are without that person. When you lose a job, it pushes you toward opportunities you never would have pursued if you'd stayed comfortable. The power of reframing. Your brain is a meaning-making machine that never stops working. Every event, every interaction, every outcome gets filtered through your personal interpretation system. The problem is that most people never consciously choose their interpretations, they just accept whatever story their fear-based brain tells them. But what if you could consciously choose how to interpret everything that happens to you? What if you could train yourself to find a lesson, the opportunity, and the gift hidden inside every apparent setback? This is the power of reframing, and it's one of the most valuable skills you'll ever develop. When you master reframing, you literally transform your reality. The facts don't change, but your experience of those facts changes completely. Let's practice. Think of a current problem you're facing. Now complete these sentences. The opportunity hidden in this situation is, this problem is forcing me to develop. If I look back on this 5 years from now, I'll be grateful because. Notice how different you feel about your problem after answering these questions. That's the power of conscious reframing. The inner game revolution. Most people spend their entire lives trying to change their external circumstances without ever addressing the internal patterns that created those circumstances in the first place. They switch jobs without changing their work habits. They end relationships without examining their communication patterns. They move to new cities without addressing the mindset that made them unhappy in the old one. This is like trying to change your reflection by rearranging the mirror. The real transformation happens when you change what's being reflected. Your outer world is a mirror of your inner world. The problems you keep encountering aren't random. They're showing you exactly where you need to grow. The people who irritate you most are reflecting back the parts of yourself you haven't yet accepted. The challenges that feel impossible are revealing the limiting beliefs that have been holding you back. The victim-to-victor transformation. There's a moment in every person's life when they have to choose. Will I be a victim of my circumstances, or will I be the victor who transforms them? This choice isn't made once, it's made hundreds of times every day, in small moments that seem insignificant but add up to define your entire life experience. Victims ask, "Why me?" and "When will this end?" Victors ask, "What can I learn?" and "How can I use this?" Victims focus on what's wrong and who's to blame. Victors focus on what's possible and what they can control. The shift from victim to victor isn't about denying that bad things happen. It's about refusing to let those things define your identity or limit your possibilities. It's about recognizing that your power doesn't come from having perfect circumstances. It comes from your ability to respond powerfully to imperfect circumstances. The solution-focused mind. Your brain has a fascinating feature called the reticular activating system. It's like a spotlight that illuminates whatever you focus on while filtering out everything else. If you're thinking about buying a red car, you'll suddenly notice red cars everywhere. If you're focused on problems, you'll see problems everywhere you look. But here's the magic. If you train your mind to focus on solutions, you'll start seeing solutions everywhere. Your brain will begin highlighting resources, opportunities, and possibilities that were invisible when you were focused on what was wrong. This doesn't mean ignoring problems. It means changing your relationship with them. Instead of seeing problems as things to be avoided or endured, you start seeing them as puzzles to be solved. Instead of feeling overwhelmed by complexity, you become energized by the challenge. Solution-focused thinking turns you into a detective searching for clues rather than a victim drowning in circumstances. Every setback becomes data. Every failure becomes feedback. Every closed door becomes information about where the open doors might be hidden. The compound effect of small shifts. You don't need to completely transform your thinking overnight. In fact, trying to make massive changes all at once usually backfires because your brain resists dramatic shifts. Instead, focus on making tiny adjustments to how you interpret and respond to daily events. When you're stuck in traffic, instead of feeling frustrated, practice seeing it as a gift of unexpected thinking time. When a project takes longer than expected, instead of feeling stressed, Practice seeing it as an opportunity to do higher quality work. When someone disagrees with you, instead of feeling defensive, practice seeing it as a chance to understand a different perspective. These small shifts might seem insignificant, but they compound over time. Each tiny change in perspective rewires your brain slightly. After weeks of practicing new interpretations, you'll notice that your default response to challenges has fundamentally changed. Problems that used to overwhelm you now energize you. Obstacles that used to stop you now redirect you toward better paths. The emergency brake for emotional reactions. Here's a practical tool you can use immediately. When you feel yourself getting emotionally hijacked by a problem, use what I call the stop technique. Stop what you're doing and take 3 deep breaths. Take a step back mentally and observe your thoughts. Open your mind to alternative interpretations. Proceed with intention rather than reaction. This 4-step process takes less than a minute, but it can prevent hours or days of unproductive worry and stress. It's like having an emergency brake for your emotional reactions. The questions that change everything. The quality of your life is determined by the quality of the questions you ask yourself. Most people ask terrible questions like, "Why does this always happen to me?" Or, "What if everything goes wrong?" These questions program your brain to find evidence of victimhood and catastrophe. Instead, train yourself to ask empowering questions. What is this situation here to teach me? How can I use this challenge to become stronger? What would I do if I knew I couldn't fail? How will overcoming this problem serve my highest goals? What resources do I have that I haven't fully utilized yet? These questions reprogram your mental computer to search for possibilities instead of problems, for resources instead of limitations, for growth instead of stagnation. The identity shift. Perhaps the most profound change happens when you shift your identity from someone who has problems to someone who solves problems. This isn't just semantic wordplay. It's a fundamental change in how you see yourself and your role in your own life. Problem solvers don't waste energy complaining about difficulties. They get excited about the opportunity to exercise their problem-solving muscles. They don't take setbacks personally because they understand that obstacles are just part of the game. They don't wait for perfect conditions because they know that perfection is the enemy of progress. When you truly embody the identity of a problem solver, challenges stop feeling like attacks and start feeling like invitations. You stop asking, "Why me?" and start asking, "What's next?" You stop looking for who to blame and start looking for what to do. The ripple effect. Here's something remarkable. When you change your relationship with problems, you change your relationship with life itself. People start seeing you differently because you're showing up differently. Opportunities appear because you're no longer vibrating at the frequency of victimhood. Solutions emerge because you're asking better questions. Your transformation creates a ripple effect that touches every area of your life. Your relationships improve because you're no longer looking to others to solve your problems. Your career advances because you become the person others turn to when challenges arise. Your health improves because you're no longer constantly stressed about circumstances beyond your control. The new operating system. Think of this mindset shift as upgrading your mental operating system. Your old system was designed for survival. It was constantly scanning for threats and trying to avoid pain. Your new system is designed for growth. It's constantly scanning for opportunities and using challenges as fuel for development. With your new operating system, problems don't disappear, they transform. They stop being things that happen to you and become things that happen for you. They stop being evidence of what's wrong with your life and start being proof of how strong you're becoming. The practice begins now. Reading about these concepts isn't enough, you have to practice them. Starting today, commit to catching yourself in the act of emotional reaction. When you feel that familiar surge of stress, frustration, or overwhelm, remember that it's just your old operating system running an outdated program. Take a breath. Step back. Ask a better question. Look for the opportunity. Choose your response instead of defaulting to your reaction. Do this consistently, and you'll be amazed at how quickly your relationship with problems begins to transform. Remember, the goal isn't to eliminate problems from your life. The goal is to become the kind of person who sees problems as stepping stones to a better version of yourself. When you achieve this mindset shift, you don't just solve your current problems, you become someone who can handle whatever challenges life brings your way. The mindset shift isn't just the first step in solving your problems. It's the foundation that makes everything else possible. Master this, and you've already won half the battle. The problems are still there, but you're no longer the same person facing them. You're now someone who transforms obstacles into opportunities, setbacks into comebacks, and problems into possibilities. That changes everything. Chapter 2: The Problem-Solving Map. Every challenge has hidden doors. You just need to know where to look. What if I told you that every problem you've ever faced was actually a gift in disguise? That every obstacle blocking your path was secretly pointing you toward your greatest breakthrough? Most people see problems as roadblocks, but masters of life see them as treasure maps. The difference isn't luck, talent, or circumstance. It's having the right navigation system. Welcome to your problem-solving map, a battle-tested system that transforms confusion into clarity, frustration into flow, and problems into possibilities. This isn't theory from an ivory tower. This is your practical toolkit for conquering any challenge life throws your way. The hidden truth about problems. Here's something nobody tells you. The problem you're wrestling with right now isn't really the problem. It's like trying to treat a fever without finding the infection causing it. You can take all the aspirin in the world, but until you address what's really going on beneath the surface, you're just playing whack-a-mole with symptoms. Think about the last major challenge you faced. Did you jump straight into solution mode, frantically trying fix after fix, only to watch the same issue resurface in different forms? You're not alone. Most people attack the branches while the roots remain untouched, which is why their problems keep growing back stronger than before. But what if there was a different way? What if instead of fighting the visible symptoms, you could become a detective of your own life, uncovering the hidden patterns and root causes that create your challenges? This shift from surface-level firefighting to deep-level understanding is what separates those who merely survive their problems from those who use them as stepping stones to extraordinary success. The truth is, every problem contains within it the seeds of its own solution. But you can't plant those seeds until you understand the soil you're working with. That's where your problem-solving map comes in, a systematic approach that guides you from confusion to breakthrough, step by carefully crafted step. Step 1. The archaeological dig, uncovering the real problem. Before you can solve any problem, you must first ensure you're solving the right problem. This sounds obvious, but it's where most people go catastrophically wrong. They're like doctors prescribing medicine before completing the diagnosis, or architects building foundations before understanding the ground they're building on. The first step in your problem-solving journey isn't brainstorming solutions. It's becoming an archaeologist of your own experience. You're going to dig beneath the surface symptoms to uncover the real issue buried underneath. This process starts with a simple but powerful question. What's really going on here? Let's say you're struggling with procrastination. The surface problem seems clear. You're not getting things done. But is that really the root issue? When you dig deeper, you might discover that procrastination is actually your mind's way of protecting you from the fear of failure or perfectionism or feeling overwhelmed by unclear priorities. Suddenly, the real problem isn't time management, it's fear management or clarity or boundary setting. This archaeological approach requires you to ask better questions. Instead of how do I stop procrastinating, you start asking, what am I really avoiding? Instead of why can't I stick to my diet, you ask, what need is food meeting that isn't being met elsewhere? Instead of why don't people respect me, you ask, what am I doing that signals to others that I don't respect myself? The quality of your questions determines the quality of your solutions. Surface questions generate surface solutions that barely scratch the itch. Deep questions uncover transformational insights that change everything. When you're willing to dig past the comfortable surface and excavate the uncomfortable truth, that's when real change becomes possible. Here's your excavation toolkit. First, write down the problem as you currently see it. Then ask yourself these power questions. What patterns do I notice? When did this first start? What was happening in my life around that time? What would have to be true for this problem to keep recurring? What am I getting out of this situation that I might not want to admit? What would I lose if this problem disappeared tomorrow? These questions might feel uncomfortable, and that discomfort is your compass pointing toward the treasure. The answers you resist are often the ones you need most. Remember, you can't heal what you won't feel, and you can't solve what you won't face. The courage to look honestly at your situation is the first step toward changing it. Step 2. The idea factory, creative solution generation. Now that you've uncovered the real problem, it's time to unleash your inner innovator. This is where most people's creativity gets strangled by their inner critic before it even has a chance to breathe. They immediately judge their ideas as stupid, impossible, or too weird, killing potential solutions before they can develop. But here's what creative problem solvers understand. The goal of brainstorming isn't to find the perfect solution immediately. It's to generate raw material that can be refined into gold. Think of this phase like mining. You don't expect every shovelful of dirt to contain diamonds, but you keep digging because you know the gems are in there somewhere. The key to effective brainstorming is separating creation from evaluation. Your creative mind and your critical mind are like oil and water. They don't mix well. When you try to create and judge simultaneously, you end up with neither good ideas nor good analysis. Instead, give your creative mind complete freedom to play, explore, and experiment without the buzzkill of immediate judgment. Start by setting a timer and challenging yourself to generate as many solutions as possible, no matter how wild, impractical, or unconventional they seem. Want to solve a relationship conflict? Maybe the answer is writing a song about it, or creating a shared bucket list, or having a conversation while doing something physical like hiking. Want to advance your career? Perhaps it's starting a podcast in your field, or volunteering for a cause your dream boss supports, or creating value for your company in a way nobody expects. The magic happens when you give yourself permission to think beyond conventional boundaries. Some of the most breakthrough solutions come from combining ideas from completely different fields, or taking approaches that seem irrelevant to your situation. What would a child do? What would someone from another culture try? What would happen if you did the exact opposite of what everyone expects? Don't forget to mine your past for golden nuggets of wisdom. What creative solutions have worked for you before in different contexts? How did you solve problems when you had fewer resources but more creativity? Often, your younger self holds keys that your current, more practical self has forgotten. The goal is to create a menu of possibilities so rich and varied that at least one option excites you enough to take action. Because here's the truth, the best solution in the world is worthless if you're not motivated to implement it. Energy and excitement are the fuel that turns ideas into reality. Step 3. The selection filter, choosing your winning strategy. You're now sitting with a treasure trove of potential solutions, and it's time to become a master curator. This is where strategic thinking meets practical wisdom, where you transform a collection of possibilities into a focused plan of action. The key is developing criteria that help you identify which solutions have the highest probability of success with the lowest risk of regret. Think of yourself as a venture capitalist of your own life, evaluating which ideas deserve your most precious investments, your time, energy, and attention. Not all solutions are created equal, and your job is to identify the ones with the best return on investment for your specific situation. Start by applying the feasibility filter. Given your current resources, skills, and circumstances, which solutions are actually within your reach? This doesn't mean choosing only easy options. Challenge and growth are important, but it means being honest about what you can realistically commit to right now. A solution that requires you to completely transform your personality overnight is probably less practical than one that builds on strengths you already possess. Next, consider the impact potential. Which solutions address the root cause you uncovered in step 1 rather than just managing symptoms? Which ones have the power to create positive ripple effects in other areas of your life? Sometimes a smaller change that affects multiple systems is more powerful than a larger change that only touches one area. Time sensitivity matters too. Some problems require immediate action to prevent them from escalating, while others benefit from a more gradual, sustainable approach. Match your solution to your timeline. If you're dealing with a crisis, you need a tourniquet, not a long-term fitness plan. If you're addressing a chronic issue, you need something you can stick with for months or years, not just a quick fix. Consider your energy levels and motivation cycles. Be honest about your patterns. Are you someone who thrives on dramatic changes or gradual adjustments? Do you need external accountability, or do you work better independently? Do you have more willpower in the morning or evening? Design your solution to work with your natural rhythms, not against them. Finally, apply the excitement test. Which solution makes you feel a spark of anticipation rather than a sense of dread? The solution you're most excited to try is often the one you're most likely to follow through on. Your enthusiasm is a form of intelligence. It's your inner wisdom pointing you toward what's most likely to work for who you are right now. Step 4. The implementation bridge, from idea to reality. Having the perfect solution is meaningless if it stays trapped in your head. This is where dreams meet discipline, where inspiration transforms into accomplishment. The implementation phase is where most people stumble, not because their solutions aren't good enough, but because they don't have a bridge between knowing what to do and actually doing it. The secret to successful implementation isn't willpower, it's system power. Instead of relying on motivation, which comes and goes like the weather, you need to create structures that make success inevitable and failure difficult. Think of implementation as engineering your environment and habits so that following through becomes the path of least resistance. Start by breaking your solution into the smallest possible next steps. The human brain is wired to feel overwhelmed by big, vague goals and energized by specific, manageable actions. Instead of improve my relationship, your next step might be text my partner one thing I appreciate about them today. Instead of get organized, it might be spend 5 minutes clearing my desk right now. The smaller and more specific your first step, the more likely you are to take it. Create what psychologists call implementation intentions, specific if-then plans that remove decision fatigue from the equation. If it's 7 a.m. on a weekday, then I will immediately write in my journal for 10 minutes. If I feel the urge to check social media while working, then I will take 3 deep breaths and ask myself what I'm really avoiding. These pre-made decisions become autopilot instructions that kick in when your willpower is low. Design your environment to support your success. If you want to eat healthier, put nutritious snacks at eye level and hide the junk food. If you want to exercise more, lay out your workout clothes the night before. If you want to read instead of scrolling on your phone, charge your phone in another room and keep a book on your bedside table. Your environment is constantly influencing your choices, so make it an ally rather than an enemy. Build an accountability systems that match your personality. Some people thrive with public commitments and external deadlines, while others prefer private tracking and self-reflection. Some need daily check-ins, others prefer weekly reviews. Experiment to find what keeps you honest without making the process feel like punishment. Most importantly, plan for obstacles before they arise. What are the 3 most likely ways this implementation could derail? What will you do when motivation dips? How will you handle setbacks without giving up entirely? When you anticipate challenges and have response strategies ready, obstacles become manageable detours rather than roadblocks that stop you in your tracks. Step 5. The learning loop, continuous optimization. The most successful problem solvers understand a crucial truth. The first attempt is rarely the final answer. They approach implementation not as a one-shot deal, but as the beginning of an iterative learning process. They're scientists of their own lives, constantly gathering data, making adjustments, and refining their approach based on real-world feedback. This mindset shift is revolutionary because it removes the pressure for perfection and replaces it with curiosity about what works. Instead of judging yourself harshly when something doesn't go according to plan, you become fascinated by what the experience is teaching you. Every failure becomes valuable data points that guide your next iteration. Set up regular review sessions to assess your progress. Weekly check-ins work well for most people. What's working better than expected? What's proving more challenging than anticipated? What patterns am I noticing? What adjustments would make this more effective or sustainable? These aren't judgment sessions, they're strategy sessions where you get curious about optimizing your approach. Pay attention to both quantitative and qualitative feedback. Yes, track the measurable results: pounds lost, money saved, hours spent on meaningful activities. But also tune into the qualitative signals. How does this solution feel? Is it increasing or decreasing your overall life satisfaction? Are you more energized or more drained? Sometimes a solution that looks good on paper feels wrong in practice, and that feeling is important data. Be willing to pivot when necessary. Sometimes you'll discover that your original solution was addressing the wrong problem, or that circumstances have changed, or that you've learned something about yourself that changes the game. The ability to adjust course without seeing it as failure is a superpower. Flexibility isn't a sign of weakness, it's a sign of intelligence. Document your insights as you go. What did you learn about yourself through this process? What strategies worked better than expected? What assumptions turned out to be wrong? This creates a personal database of wisdom that you can draw from when facing future challenges. Each problem you solve successfully makes you better equipped for the next one. Remember that mastery is a spiral, not a straight line. You'll revisit similar challenges at deeper levels throughout your life, but each time you'll bring more wisdom, more tools, and more self-awareness to the process. The goal isn't to eliminate all problems, It's to become someone who faces challenges with confidence, creativity, and skill. The compound effect of masterful problem solving. As you consistently apply this problem-solving map, something magical begins to happen. Each challenge you navigate successfully builds your confidence and competence for the next one. You start to see problems not as threats to your peace, but as opportunities to demonstrate your growing mastery over your own life. The skills you develop through this process, deep analysis, creative thinking, strategic decision-making, systematic implementation, and continuous learning, these aren't just problem-solving skills. They're life mastery skills that enhance every area of your existence. The person who can consistently turn obstacles into opportunities becomes virtually unstoppable. You'll notice that people start coming to you for advice, not because you have fewer problems, but because you've developed a reputation as someone who finds ways through difficult situations. You become a beacon of possibility in other people's storms, which creates its own form of deep satisfaction and meaning. Perhaps most importantly, you'll develop what resilience researchers call self-efficacy, an unshakable belief in your ability to figure things out. This isn't arrogance or naive optimism. It's a quiet confidence born from repeated evidence that you can handle whatever life presents. This confidence becomes your secret weapon, allowing you to take bigger risks, pursue bigger dreams, and recover faster from setbacks. Your next adventure begins now. You now possess a complete navigation system for any challenge life might present. You have a process for uncovering root causes, generating creative solutions, making strategic choices, implementing effectively, and learning continuously. But knowledge without action is just entertainment, and entertainment won't transform your life. The difference between people who dream about change and people who create change is simple: action. The perfect moment to start using these tools will never come. There will always be reasons to wait, to prepare more, to think it through just a little longer. But life is happening now, and your problems aren't waiting for you to feel completely ready. Choose one challenge you're facing right now. Maybe not your biggest or scariest one, but one that matters to you and feels manageable as a starting point. Apply the problem-solving map to this situation over the next week. Dig for the root cause, brainstorm creative solutions, choose strategically, implement systematically, and review your progress. Notice how it feels to approach a problem with a clear process rather than random attempts and wishful thinking. Pay attention to the confidence that builds as you move through each step with purpose and intention. This is just a taste of what's possible when you become a master of your own challenges. Your future self is waiting on the other side of the problems you solve today. Every challenge you face is an invitation to become more capable, more creative, more resilient. The obstacles in your path aren't blocking your destination. They are the path to becoming the person capable of reaching that destination. The map is in your hands. The treasure is real. Your adventure begins the moment you take the first step. What problem will you solve first? Chapter 3: From Struggle to Strength. Problems can break you or build you. This chapter teaches how to transform struggles into sources of resilience and wisdom, so every problem you face becomes a stepping stone toward a stronger, more confident life. The forge of adversity. Picture a blacksmith at work. The metal enters the forge cold, brittle, and unremarkable. But under intense heat and pressure, something extraordinary happens. The metal doesn't just survive the flames. It emerges transformed, stronger, more durable, and ready to serve its purpose. You are that metal, and your problems are the forge. Every person reading these words has faced moments when life felt overwhelming. Perhaps you're in one of those moments right now. The bills keep coming, relationships are strained, health concerns mount, or career dreams seem impossibly distant. In these moments, it's natural to ask, why is this happening to me? But what if we asked a different question entirely? How is this preparing me for what's coming next? The difference between these two questions isn't just philosophical, it's transformational. One keeps you trapped in victimhood while the other unlocks your potential for growth. The most successful, resilient, and fulfilled people throughout history didn't achieve greatness despite their struggles. They achieved it because of them. Consider the entrepreneur who lost everything in their first business venture. That failure taught them lessons about market research, financial planning, and risk management that no business school could provide. When they launched their second venture, they weren't the same naive optimist who had failed before. They were a battle-tested warrior with wisdom earned through adversity. The victim trap and the victor's mindset. Here's an uncomfortable truth. We have more control over our circumstances than we often admit, and less control than we sometimes believe. This paradox is the key to understanding how problems can become our greatest teachers rather than our worst enemies. The victim mindset focuses exclusively on what we cannot control. It asks questions like, why did this happen to me? What did I do to deserve this? How is this fair? These questions, while natural, trap us in a cycle of powerlessness and resentment. They make us passengers in our own lives, waiting for circumstances to improve rather than taking action to improve our response to those circumstances. The victor's mindset, however, focuses on what we can control. It asks different questions. What can I learn from this? How can I grow stronger because of this experience? What opportunities might be hidden within this challenge? This shift in questioning doesn't minimize the reality of difficult situations, but it transforms our relationship with them entirely. The story of Helen Keller illustrates this principle powerfully. Born deaf and blind, she could have easily become a victim of her circumstances. Instead, she chose to see her limitations as challenges to overcome. She didn't just adapt to her world, she transformed it, becoming an author, activist, and inspiration to millions. Her disabilities didn't define her limitations, they revealed her limitless potential. This same principle applies to every challenge you face. Whether it's a job loss that forces you to discover new skills, a health scare that motivates you to prioritize wellness, or a relationship ending that teaches you about your own worth and boundaries. The event itself is neutral. It's your response that determines whether it becomes a source of strength or a source of suffering. The anatomy of resilience. Resilience isn't a trait you're born with or without, it's a skill you develop through practice. Like physical strength, it grows stronger with use and atrophies without challenge. This is why people who have never faced significant adversity often crumble when challenges arise, while those who have learned to navigate difficulties become increasingly capable of handling whatever life throws at them. The foundation of resilience lies in understanding that problems are temporary, specific, and surmountable. Let's break this down. Problems are temporary. Every storm eventually passes. Every winter gives way to spring. Every crisis contains within it the seeds of its own resolution. When you're in the middle of a difficult situation, it can feel permanent, but history, both personal and collective, shows us that change is the only constant. The key is to hold on to this perspective, even when circumstances suggest otherwise. Problems are specific. A failure in one area of your life doesn't make you a failure as a person. A setback in your career doesn't mean you're incompetent. A relationship ending doesn't mean you're unlovable. Resilient people understand that problems are isolated events, not character judgments. They don't allow a specific challenge to contaminate their entire self-concept. Problems are surmountable. Every problem has a solution, even if that solution isn't immediately obvious. Sometimes the solution is to change the circumstances. Sometimes it's to change your approach. Sometimes it's to change your perspective. But there is always a path forward, always a way to grow from the experience, always an opportunity to emerge stronger than before. Building resilience also requires developing what psychologists call emotional regulation, the ability to manage your emotional responses to stressful situations. This doesn't mean suppressing emotions or pretending everything is fine when it's not. Instead, it means acknowledging your feelings while not allowing them to control your actions. The growth mindset revolution. One of the most powerful tools for transforming struggle into strength is adopting what researcher Carol Dweck calls a growth mindset. This is the belief that abilities, intelligence, and talents can be developed through dedication, hard work, and learning from failures. It stands in contrast to a fixed mindset, which assumes that these qualities are static traits that cannot be significantly improved. When you approach problems with a growth mindset, failure becomes feedback, obstacles become opportunities, and setbacks become setups for comebacks. You begin to see challenges not as threats to your competence, but as chances to expand your capabilities. Consider two students facing a difficult exam. The student with a fixed mindset thinks, "I'm just not good at this subject. If I fail, it proves I'm not smart enough." The student with a growth mindset thinks, "This is challenging, which means I'll learn a lot by working through it. If I struggle, it shows me where I need to focus my efforts." The exam is the same, but their experience of it and their response to whatever grade they receive will be completely different. This mindset shift is particularly powerful when dealing with major life challenges. A job loss can be viewed as either a devastating blow to your career or an opportunity to explore new possibilities and develop new skills. A health diagnosis can be seen as either a life sentence or a wake-up call to make important changes. A financial setback can be experienced as either proof of your inadequacy or motivation to develop better money management skills. The growth mindset doesn't minimize the real difficulty of these situations, but it reframes them in a way that preserves your sense of agency and opens up possibilities for positive change. It transforms you from a victim of circumstances into an active participant in your own recovery and growth. The hidden gifts of adversity. Every struggle carries within it hidden gifts, but these gifts only reveal themselves to those who know how to look for them. The challenge is learning to see beyond the immediate pain or inconvenience to identify the deeper benefits that difficulties can provide. Clarity of values. Adversity has a way of stripping away the non-essential and revealing what truly matters to you. When facing a serious health issue, you might discover that your relationships are more important than your career achievements. When dealing with financial hardship, you might realize that simple pleasures bring more joy than expensive ones. Problems force you to prioritize, and this clarity can guide better decisions long after the crisis is past. Increased empathy. Having walked through difficult times yourself makes you more understanding and compassionate toward others facing similar challenges. This increased empathy doesn't just make you a better friend or family member. It can also make you more effective in your career, more connected in your relationships, and more fulfilled in your service to others. Enhanced problem-solving skills. Each challenge you overcome adds to your mental toolkit. You develop new strategies, discover resources you didn't know existed, and build confidence in your ability to handle future difficulties. This doesn't just help you deal with similar problems, it makes you more capable of tackling any challenge that comes your way. Deeper self-knowledge. Adversity reveals aspects of your character that comfort never could. You discover reserves of strength you didn't know you possessed, values you didn't realize you held, and dreams you didn't know you carried. This self-knowledge becomes the foundation for more authentic living and better decision-making in the future. Appreciation for good times. Contrast makes experience richer. Those who have known real hardship often have a deeper appreciation for simple pleasures and ordinary blessings. They don't take good health, loving relationships, or financial security for granted because they understand how precious and fragile these gifts can be. The transformation process. Understanding that problems can become strengths is one thing. Actually making that transformation happen is another. The process requires intentionality, patience, and specific strategies that can turn your struggles into sources of power. Step 1. Accept the reality. The first step isn't to fix the problem, it's to fully acknowledge its existence. Denial and avoidance might provide temporary relief, but they prevent the transformation process from beginning. This doesn't mean you have to like your circumstances, but you do need to accept them as your current reality. Acceptance is not resignation. Resignation says, "This is how things are and always will be." Acceptance says, "This is how things are right now, and I can work with this reality to create positive change." It's the difference between giving up and gearing up. Step 2. Extract the lessons. Every problem contains information that can make you wiser, stronger, or more effective. Sometimes these lessons are practical. A financial crisis might teach you about budgeting and saving. Sometimes they're emotional. A relationship challenge might help you understand your communication patterns or attachment style. Sometimes they're spiritual. A health scare might clarify your priorities and deepen your gratitude. The key is to actively look for these lessons rather than waiting for them to reveal themselves. Ask yourself, what is this situation teaching me about myself? About others? About how the world works? What skills or knowledge am I developing as I navigate this challenge? How is this experience preparing me for future opportunities? Step 3. Develop new capabilities. Problems often require us to stretch beyond our current capabilities, and this stretching is where growth happens. You might need to learn new skills, develop different habits, or expand your comfort zone. Rather than seeing this as an unwelcome burden, view it as an opportunity to become more capable and versatile. A single mother returning to work might develop time management skills that make her more effective than colleagues without children. Someone managing a chronic illness might learn about nutrition and stress management in ways that benefit their overall quality of life. A person dealing with job loss might discover entrepreneurial abilities they never knew they possessed. Step 4. Build a support network. Struggling alone is harder than struggling with support. But adversity can also reveal who in your life is truly there for you. Use your challenges as opportunities to deepen meaningful relationships and distance yourself from those that are superficial or toxic. Don't be afraid to ask for help when you need it. Many people want to contribute to your success but don't know how. By sharing your struggles appropriately, you give others the chance to show up for you, which often strengthens the relationship for both parties. Step 5. Help others navigate similar challenges. One of the most powerful ways to transform your struggle into strength is to use your experience to help others facing similar difficulties. This doesn't mean you need to become a professional counselor or coach, but you can offer perspective, encouragement, and practical advice to those following behind you on a similar path. This step completes the transformation process. Your problem, which once seemed like a purely negative experience, becomes a source of service to others. It shifts from being something that happened to you to being something you can use to make a positive difference in the world. The compound effect of growth. Here's where the transformation process becomes truly powerful. The growth you experience from overcoming one challenge doesn't just help you with that specific type of problem. It builds your overall capacity to handle whatever life brings your way. Think of it like physical fitness. When you train your body to run a marathon, you don't just become good at running marathons. You develop cardiovascular health, mental toughness, discipline, and resilience that benefit you in countless other areas of life. Similarly, when you successfully navigate a major challenge, you develop life fitness that makes you more capable of handling future difficulties. This compound effect means that each problem you transform into strength makes you better equipped to handle the next one. You develop what researchers call stress inoculation. Previous exposure to manageable stress makes you more resilient when facing future stressors. The entrepreneur who survived their first business failure is less likely to be devastated by the second one. The parent who successfully navigated their teenager's first crisis feels more confident addressing subsequent challenges. The person who recovered from a serious illness often faces future health concerns with greater courage and wisdom. This doesn't mean you become immune to difficulty or that challenges stop being challenging. It means you develop a deep confidence in your ability to handle whatever comes your way. You know from experience that you can not only survive difficulties but emerge from them stronger than before. Rewriting your story. One of the most powerful aspects of transforming struggle into strength is how it changes the story you tell about your life. Instead of seeing yourself as someone who has been burdened by problems, you begin to see yourself as someone who has been forged by challenges into a stronger, wiser, more capable person. This shift in narrative is more than just positive thinking. It's a fundamental change in identity. You move from seeing yourself as a victim of circumstances to seeing yourself as a victor over circumstances. This new identity then influences how you approach future challenges, creating a positive cycle of growth and resilience. The story you tell about your past shapes your expectations for your future. If your narrative focuses on how problems have damaged or limited you, you'll approach new challenges with fear and pessimism. But if your story emphasizes how difficulties have strengthened and prepared you, you'll face future obstacles with confidence and optimism. This doesn't mean denying the real pain or difficulty of past experiences. It means choosing to emphasize the growth and strength that emerged from those experiences rather than dwelling only on the suffering they caused. It's the difference between saying I'm damaged by what happened to me and saying I'm strengthened by what I've overcome. The courage to face forward. Transforming struggle into strength requires courage, not the absence of fear, but the willingness to move forward despite fear. It takes courage to look for lessons in painful experiences. It takes courage to believe that growth is possible when everything feels broken. It takes courage to help others when you're still healing yourself. But here's the beautiful paradox. The act of moving forward courageously is itself a source of strength. Each time you choose growth over stagnation, wisdom over bitterness, hope over despair, you build the very resilience that makes future challenges more manageable. The courage to face forward is built through small acts of bravery, repeated consistently over time. It's the decision to get up each morning when depression makes bed seem like the only safe place. It's the choice to keep looking for work when rejection has become routine. It's the willingness to trust again after betrayal has shattered your faith in people. These small acts of courage might seem insignificant in the moment, but they accumulate into a reservoir of strength that you can draw upon when facing larger challenges. They prove to yourself that you are capable of choosing your response to circumstances, regardless of how difficult those circumstances might be. The ripple effect. The transformation of your struggles into strengths doesn't just benefit you. It creates ripples that extend far beyond your own life. When you demonstrate that it's possible to grow from adversity, you give others permission to do the same. When you share the lessons you've learned from your challenges, you save others from having to learn those same lessons through their own painful experiences. Your transformed struggles become a gift to your children, showing them that difficulties are temporary and surmountable. They become an inspiration to your friends, proving that growth is possible even in the darkest times. They become a testimony to your community that human resilience is real and that hope is justified even when circumstances seem hopeless. This ripple effect extends the meaning of your struggles beyond your personal growth. Your difficulties, which once seemed like senseless suffering, become part of a larger story of human resilience and possibility. They contribute to the collective wisdom that helps our species not just survive but thrive in the face of adversity. Living the transformed life. As you consistently apply the principles of transforming struggle into strength, something remarkable happens. You begin to approach life differently. You stop seeing problems as things to be avoided and start seeing them as opportunities to be embraced. You develop what could be called anti-fragility, the ability not just to survive stress and challenges, but to actually grow stronger because of them. This doesn't mean you go looking for problems or enjoy being in difficult situations. It means you face inevitable challenges with a fundamentally different attitude. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you find yourself asking, "How can I grow from this?" Instead of feeling defeated by setbacks, you feel curious about what you might learn. This transformation in perspective changes everything. Work stress becomes an opportunity to develop better coping strategies and leadership skills. Relationship conflicts become chances to deepen intimacy through honest communication. Health challenges become wake-up calls that lead to better life choices. Financial difficulties become motivation to develop better money management skills and clearer priorities. Living the transformed life means understanding that your problems are not obstacles to your success. They are the very means by which your success is forged. They are not interruptions to your happiness. They are opportunities to develop a deeper, more resilient form of contentment that doesn't depend on circumstances being perfect. The ultimate truth. Here's the ultimate truth about transforming struggle into strength. It's not just a nice philosophy or a coping mechanism. It's a fundamental law of personal development. Just as muscles grow stronger when subjected to resistance, and just as immune systems become more robust when exposed to manageable challenges, your character, wisdom, and capabilities expand when you're stretched by difficulties. This doesn't mean you should seek out problems or be grateful for suffering. It means you can trust that even your worst challenges contain the seeds of your greatest growth. It means you can face the future with confidence, knowing that whatever comes your way, you have the capacity not just to survive it, but to be transformed by it into someone stronger, wiser, and more capable than you are today. The problems you're facing right now, whatever they might be, are not punishments to be endured. They are not evidence that life is unfair or that you are unlucky. They are not signs that you're on the wrong path or that you've made irreversible mistakes. They are your forge. They are the very experiences that are preparing you for the life you're meant to live, the person you're meant to become, and the contribution you're meant to make to the world. They are transforming you from who you were into who you are capable of becoming. The question is not whether your struggles will change you. They will. The question is whether you will partner with them in creating positive change or resist them and miss the opportunity for growth they provide. The choice, as always, is yours. And in making that choice, you write not just your own story of transformation, but you contribute to the larger human story of resilience, growth, and triumph over adversity. Your struggles, transformed into strengths, become part of the legacy you leave for those who will face similar challenges after you. This is the path from struggle to strength. It's not always easy, but it's always possible. And it's always worth it.